What can Orwellian themes show us about contemporary issues in America? How does fear fuel totalitarian regimes, both real and fictional? What are the dangers of political figures becoming mythical boogeymen? Those questions and more will be explored in this episode, a conversational deep dive into Chapter 2 of the novel, From Trumerica with Love, by Logan Emery Emerson. From Trumerica with Love is a modern retelling of George Orwell's 1984 as reimagined in a current-day version of America ruled by leader for life, Donald Trump. Here is Sharna and Damien's conversation.
Right. Do you ever get this feeling like
our world is becoming like a dystopian novel? Like we're living in one. Yeah. Well, we're diving into a book that takes that feeling
and just like turns it up to 11.
Okay.
Buckle up as we explore From Trumerica with Love.
It's the satirical reimagining of George Orwell's 1984.
Okay.
But it's set in
Trumpified America.
Okay, so to set the stage a little bit.
This book is very satirical.
Yeah.
And
it's very direct about its target.
Imagine like a world where Trump is eternally leader for life.
Oh, wow.
And you're just dropped right into this society.
This super state called Trumerica.
And that's where we meet Liam in Chapter 2.
He's at this super intense victory rally.
He's surrounded by all these like fervent Trump supporters. Mm-hmm. The author Logan Emery Emerson uses this scene to really show us the power
of propaganda and groupthink in this world.
Okay.
What did you find
most striking about his approach here?
Well, I think it's
so fascinating how he takes these classic Orwellian themes.
You know, the surveillance, the propaganda, the thought control.
Right.
And he gives them this like hyper-contemporary twist.
It's almost absurd.
Yeah.
Like we're not in Oceania anymore.
This is America, but it's like this warped funhouse mirror version of itself.
Yeah, it's like looking at our own reflection.
But through this distorted lens,
right.
Everything's familiar.
But also deeply unsettling, especially how they portray figures like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
She's like this mythical boogeyman.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a classic propaganda tactic, right?
You create this larger-than-life enemy.
You feel these deep-seated fears and anxieties, and then you use that to justify all of these
increasingly extreme actions and policies.
Oh, wow.
It really makes you question.
How far are we really from this kind of exaggerated reality?
Yeah, you made me think of that chilling line
where Liam says,
I have trained myself to conceal my feelings and control my face.
Because he's terrified of being outed as a dissident.
Right.
It creates this atmosphere of constant paranoia.
Absolutely. Like the climate of fear is like...
It's the fuel.
It's the lifeblood of totalitarian regimes, both in fiction and reality.
You have the surveillance from Trumerica. You have this threat of the peace police.
It's all designed to keep people
in this constant state of self-censorship.
Wow.
Afraid to even think of dissenting thoughts.
And within that environment,
and just absolute control.
You have these little glimmers of resistance.
Like Brett Brennan.
This high-ranking official that Liam encounters.
Okay.
What's interesting about him...
You're not like some overt rebel.
But there's this one electric moment...
Eye contact during the rally.
That suggests he might not be a true believer.
Right, like he's not...
Maybe he's not fully on board with the program, and that tiny detail...
It speaks volumes about just this human need.
His hunger for connection.
Yeah.
For shared dissent.
In a society where conformity is just ruthlessly enforced.
It's like even a fleeting glance can feel like this lifeline.
It is.
In this oppressive atmosphere.
Absolutely.
Makes you wonder about the internal struggles of the people in these positions of power within these regimes.
For sure.
Right. That idea of subtle resistance, like finding ways to resist.
Even in like the most oppressive environments, it's a powerful thread in this novel.
Yeah, definitely. And Emerson explores it.
In part through this mysterious book.
That's circulating underground.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
It's never like named.
It's referred to as
AOC's book.
Interesting.
Which kind of adds to this sense of danger and intrigue.
It reminded me of Samizdat.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
This underground network of literature in Soviet Russia.
It's wild.
People risked their lives
to copy and share these texts.
Yeah, it shows you the power of ideas.
Right.
And how totalitarian regimes
go to extraordinary lengths
to stop any dissent.
Well, and what I find unsettling
is how this fictional thing
mirrors some real-world debates.
totally.
that we're having.
For sure.
About censorship, misinformation.
Who controls the narrative?
Right? Like, it makes you think.
About those book banning debates.
Right.
The attempts to discredit different voices.
Yeah.
Even like the algorithms online.
That shape what we see.
Wow.
It all goes back to that question.
Of who gets to decide what's true.
Right.
What's okay to read.
Like, are we really
This enlightened democratic society?
that we think we are? The more I read this book,
The more I'm like,
are those ideals kind of shaky?
oh, that's satire, right?
It shows those cracks in our foundations.
The hypocrisy,
Mm.
the blind spots,
Emerson's holding up that funhouse mirror.
and asking us to look closer.
Okay, so there's all this darkness,
And paranoid.
but there's this weird allure
Yeah.
to this Trumerican regime.
There is.
Like, those rallies are terrifying, but they're also seductive.
It's the power of belonging,
Right.
being a part of something bigger.
Even if it's built on fear and hate.
Yeah.
Emerson gets that.
The energy.
It's euphoria.
It's like a shared delusion.
Exactly.
And if you don't buy it,
You're the enemy.
you're the outsider.
Right.
And that's how these regimes work.
They get people to police themselves.
Wow.
They use groupthink.
Emotions, not reason.
Makes you understand why Liam is...
So isolated and afraid.
He's surrounded by this mob mentality.
And there's that part where he...
Describes this urge to attack Gemma.
This woman in the crowd,
Yes.
she represents everything he hates.
It shows how they manipulate people.
Right.
To turn on each other.
It's divide and conquer.
Exactly.
Classic.
You blame the scapegoat.
And not the system.
It's so much easier
Just to blame
someone else than to actually face reality.
Which is why it's so important.
To think critically.
Okay.
Be wary of those who want us divided.
So from Trumerica with love,
Is this like a warning?
but also a call to action.
I think so.
I think so.
That it's reminding us.
That our freedoms are actually fragile.
Very much so.
But we have to
actively protect
We
them.
can't be complacent.
Right, it's not enough
To just see the danger.
You have to resist them.
We have to be engaged.
How do we do that?
Ask questions.
Okay.
Challenge the narrative.
Find different perspectives.
Yes. Don't be complacent.
Right. Because then you're complicit.
It's wild, right? This book is funny.
But also terrifying.
Yeah, it's
It makes you laugh, but then you're like...
Oh, wait, this
like-
could actually happen.
Like, some of it feels...
Uncomfortably close to reality.
Right, it's that satire thing again.
Okay.
It takes things we know.
Twist them just enough.
We laugh, but then...
We realize it could get really bad.
So if Emerson's showing us this reflection...
What is it?
What should we be seeing?
I think it's about
Language.
to control people.
Okay.
Emerson really shows that
Yeah.
with those slogans.
Right.
Paranoia is patriotic, stuff like that.
Illiberalism is the future.
Yeah, it sounds crazy.
It does.
Right, and it's not...
That far off from some of the stuff.
We hear every day.
Totally.
Politicians using dog whistles.
Spreading misinformation. Creating those divisions.
It's like rewriting reality.
And that's the scary part.
When words don't mean anything.
Right.
When truth doesn't matter.
Then what?
That's how you get authoritarianism.
Like Liam at the rally.
He knows it's fake.
But he still gets caught up.
Exactly. He's not immune.
And that's what makes it so scary.
It's not some far-off dystopia.
It's us.
It's about the choices we make.
Every single day.
The little compromises.
So we can't.
Take our freedoms for granted.
Nope. We have to work at it.
It's constant vigilance.
Absolutely. We have to be paying attention.
What can we do?
Think for yourself.
Question everything.
Okay.
Don't just accept what they tell you.
Recognize the manipulation.
Yes, even when it's subtle.
Because if we don't,
We end up on that road.
that's it. The road to Trumerica.
Mhm.
Paved with good intentions.
And not paying attention.
So as we finish up here,
What's the one thing?
you want us to remember
Pay attention to the language.
the stories they're telling us.
The narrative.
Who's pushing them?
What do they gain from it?
That's a lot to think about.
But that's what Emerson wants.
He wants us thinking.
For sure.
So keep those thinking caps on.
And we'll see you next time.
Logan Emery Emerson's dystopian novel, From Trumerica with Love, is available now from bookstores everywhere. Join us for the next episode, a conversational deep dive into Chapter 3 of this reimagining of George Orwell's 1984. In that episode, Sharna and Damien explore questions such as, can dystopian fiction serve as a wake-up call for society? Thanks for listening.